For the past couple years, I've had this in concept, mostly to help with a streamer that I mod for and have been friends with for a while. So now that I am kind of formalizing to pressure myself to work on this, here is a pitch deck. I do want to have a disclaimer at first. There has recently been another tarot streaming asset that was released and has gone fairly viral on social media. Yes, a disclaimer that this project is not attempting to copy existing works or to piggyback off of the popular release. I've had this in concept for about 2 to 3 years, and it's only now that I felt that I have the mindset and skills to be working on the implementation side. If any designs are too familiar with existing works, please let me know and I will rework elements that are possible and or necessary. In the end, whenever I finish this, I hope to deliver an asset that lives up to my ideals of quality and accessibility. I haven't looked too deeply into the one that was released. I only saw that it exists and they do it a certain way. It's very, very advanced of like how it interacts with VTubing models, but I'm going for something more focusing on accessibility instead of fancy UI and stuff like that. My expected use case for this asset is that a user pulls cards from a traditional physical deck. As someone not versed, especially in tarot, I feel like if cards are chosen intentionally by the user, it's a lot more genuine. The asset is going to be used for a stream visual only, and it does not support executing the entire tarot pull from within the asset. It is reliant on having a physical off-stream portion of it. And just to begin, I will be looking to support traditional 1 or 3 card pull readings only with the support of context cards. I do expect to have most of this be in a free version, and that's going to be available whenever it's ready. The expected first release will be a base version, which supports a light and dark mode with potentially support for a transparent background if that works better for streaming visuals. This will use the Rider Waite deck, which is copyright free, despite I think one game company trying to copyright it or trying to copyright strike people that use it. It is public domain. And there is a very low chance of a self-made deck, or a self-designed deck, I should say, because though I can try to make stuff, I am not studied and well-versed in art and graphic design. I have very little graphic design experience. After the release of the base version, a custom themes support might be added, which may be low cost, if not just free. I'm not going to be creating these assets for you. It'll be someone else or whoever you commission. Hopefully, whenever this is released, people have the decency to follow this rule of not using AI-generated assets. Proof of concept, I'm looking to have this hopefully delivered by end of year this year, 2025. The focus will be on functionality and accessibility, which will be talked about later. And this may or may not be full or close to full functionality of the base version. From the proof of concept to base version could be just aesthetic changes. I am planning on releasing the proof of concept for free, not sure the platform, just to gather user feedback and improve before the base version release. Functionality, just focusing on traditional 1 and 3 card readings, with support for 1 context card, not a number higher than that yet, as well as some customizability through settings, supporting dynamic window sizing. Now onto accessibility, the base version will hopefully support mouse, keyboard, and controllers. There will be text descriptions settings available, which will be shown in the mockups that I will have a little bit later on in these slides. The expected future work after the base version, supporting audio descriptions for potentially visually impaired users or people that just want to have that feature. And kind of tied to that is having a more accessible sound design, support more base themes besides light and dark, support custom themes, which will pull assets from a user-specified local directory. Because I am looking for this to be as accessible as possible, both from a financial and user point of view, I think containing this to the user's local computer is probably the easiest thing to do for that. Support non-traditional readings and decks. I know that I think there's something called the Oracle deck that is used by some people that I'd like to support. And then non-traditional readings. I know that yearly/annual readings are sometimes used, so I'd like to have that. And maybe just ones where you're able to pick as many cards as you want. Increase settings for customizability and continue support for user-requested accessibility. On to the mockups. So these are the menu screens. There are a couple different options because I was just playing around with it. So first one, we have a card for, we have like, so these are basically all just buttons. So we have a button for a guide on how to use the app or our asset. a deck button to see all the cards in the deck, a credits button, and a settings button. And in the middle, there's a begin the reading / pull. This another one is just a little expanded to create more spacing. This one has a more focus on the begin reading. There's the astrological earth symbol in the middle behind the begin reading card. This can tie into potentially an astrological sign UI or user interface. And this just has the earth symbol in the background. So if it's something like this for the guide screen, it's just an FAQ section and a general guide explanation. Moving on to the deck, we'll have a section for the major arcana and the minor arcana, and you can click on a card and be able to see stuff like the expanded card art and the card name and maybe description, maybe the meanings of it, which I will probably need a lot of help on. On to the credits. Right now, it's just me, so there's not much to the credits part. As well as for the settings, I'm not fully sure of what will need to be in there, so I haven't really looked into that as much or designed a mock-up for it. Now onto the more interesting part, it's the tarot reading screens. Has this been changed so many times in the past 2 to 3 years? Yes. Will I change it? Hopefully not. So let's say we press the begin reading card / button, and then we'll be taken to a screen where we can choose between a 1-card pull and a 3-card pull. Now we have at the top, on the top right, we have a home and settings button, which the design is to be determined. And the top middle portion of the screen, this is a text descriptor, which will say what you have selected. And this will be toggleable in the settings of, do you want to have this text descriptor on or off? There's this enter button, which I'm hoping to also have a double confirmation when choosing something. So if you select something, it'll do select and then pop up a button to confirm that choice, versus having it be like, okay, once you click it, that's where you're going. Now, if we say we get into the 3-card pull, there's a lot more UI that comes up. So at the top left, we have some navigation, either to go back to the previous screen or to go back to the major or minor card screens. This screen also has the top right home and settings navigation, as well as the text description box. The main focus is the major or minor arcana. In the bottom left, we have an indicator of how many cards we've chosen, and once we've reached the minimum amount of cards that can be for this pull, then a button will populate saying like, okay, let's finish the pull. On the bottom right, we have the double confirmation button as well as a reset. So let's say we select major arcana, and then we click into it. So now we have a screen of the major arcana, which right now I haven't populated with any graphic design. It's just them numbered. Top bar is pretty consistent throughout all of these. We have some navigation and the text description. At the bottom left, let's say we've chosen 1 card. So now we have a 1 or just a single card. An add button and a reset button. Select something and then press the add button. It'll be added to the pull. However, this is also part of the whole double confirmation thing. So let's say we want to go to the minor arcana. So we have minor arcana selected. Now we have the wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. Would I like this to look a little bit better? Yes. Do I want it to look too fancy? No. We select wands and then we go in to the wands screen. Now we have a little bit different. The top bar still stays the same of the navigation and text descriptor, as well as the minor arcana wand cards, which are all ace to 10 and then page to king. I'm not sure what order I'd like to have these in. For me, it makes more sense to have the king, queen, knight, and page at the top row and then the ace through 10 at the bottom. But if we're going in numerical order, then it's ace to king. We have selected 3 cards and have added them to the pull. We now see a finish pull button on the bottom left. And this is kind of a mock-up, a really simple mock-up of what a finish card pull would look like with 3 cards. So we have the text descriptor of the card name that you can select on, or that'll appear on when you select the card. We have the home and settings as well on the top right, as well as a finish button on the bottom right, which may change. And then if you have a 3-card pull with a context card, that'll also be available, and it's just dynamically in the center. And it's kind of the same. I guess I should probably have had a slide of how I'm making this. So I'm making it in Godot. So it's more like a menu game instead of something super, super fancy.